Welcome to App Stories, a weekly exploration of the world of apps. Today's show is brought to you by PDF Expert. I'm John Voorhees, and with me, of course, is Federico Vitici. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John Voorhees. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How's your WWDC treating you? It's a little tired, maybe,
exhausting. It's just as exhausting as... You know what? I'll tell you what, actually. It is so far, I want to say, even more exhausting than being in California, because in California, I feel like there's a couple of things that help me be more energetic. So first of all, there's a problem being at home, is that because you're at home, you feel like you need to do more. And I feel like I need to cram in as many sessions as possible because I'm at home, might as well watch them. So I'm watching a lot more sessions that I would normally go to. Also, because they are pre-recorded sessions, I don't know if you noticed, but they're so much shorter than the actual sessions done in person. They're more compact. They're a lot more dense. And so I'm assimilating a lot more info, which of course in itself is exhausting. Also, and this is probably going to sound silly, but bear with me. In California, you have American food. And American food is greasy and full of proteins, you know, and it keeps you going. Whereas because I'm at home, I'm trying to follow my diet and I'm trying to eat a lot of vegetables. I'm trying to eat a lot of salad and fruit. and I feel like I could use a hamburger right now instead.
Yeah.
But also it's very difficult because there's like a heat wave in Rome this past couple of days.
Yeah.
And so I was telling you before the show, I tried to eat pasta for dinner. It was just horrible. It made me feel horrible. It's just never again. Man. With 32 degrees Celsius, no, pasta is not good.
Yeah. That's really warm. Yeah, I'll agree. I agree with you completely. I am much more tired than I expected to be. I thought it was when we go to San Jose that it is the travel and the social aspect and being out late at night, which does wear you out to a degree.
It does, but it's a different kind of being tired. You know, like being tired because you've been meeting people and talking to people. Like, yes, you're tired, but you're not mentally exhausted. At least that's how I feel. Like, this is the opposite of what I was promised. Like, oh, yeah, WWDC at home. You're going to take it easy. It's going to be chill. I'm not chill. I'm not taking it easy. And I probably should. But also, yeah, I mean, I could go for like that kind of like junk American food right now.
I know all the good places in Chicago to take you for that.
Milkshake and fries and like a bacon cheeseburger. Oh man, that kind of real ugly American food. That's what keeps you going, man. That's what keeps you going.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. Well, yes, I agree. And I took it a little easier today, so I'm feeling a little better than I think you are. But let's dig in because I thought what we ought to do today is we've had a couple of days to live with the betas, and we've also had a couple of days to dig deeper on a lot of sessions and other things that have been published by Apple, as well as take a look at things like app clips. So we're going to start off, I think, with some first impressions of iOS 14. Because I've got it on my iPhone and I've got it on my iPad Pro. And I got to say, it's really been stable so far. I haven't seen a lot of problems. I mean, there are bugs, yes. I mean, one bug that I think I see every single time there's a new major beta is that the share sheet gets messed up. And my shortcuts have been disappearing from the share sheet. Usually after the second or third time trying, they'll show up, and then for a while they'll just show up like they normally do, but sometimes they disappear. And that I've seen, I think I saw that in 12 and 13, and it's a pain, but it is what it is. And I do keep one device back on 13 so that if things get really bad, I can use that to use my shortcuts and that sort of thing. So there was that, and then That's
business as usual with the share sheet and shortcuts disappearing. It doesn't even surprise me. That's totally normal, especially for the first beta. You gotta be thankful that your shortcuts are running at all. So
true. Did you notice that they're in the backwards order too? I'd read originally. Immediately it freaked me out. I thought they were scrambled. Then I just realized it was newest to oldest instead of oldest to newest.
And this is a problem for me. All right, because
bottom to top. Yeah.
Yes, because you know what I've been doing over the past few years, really since workflow. Because the app workflow and then shortcuts it would always start at the top of the grid. So
Right.
because when you open the app, it starts at the top. So what I would do is I would keep my most used shortcuts at the top
Yes. That's
because
what I do too.
that's where the app started. And now
Right.
I find myself in a situation where all my most used shortcuts are at the bottom. And because
Right.
I have like, I don't know, how many shortcuts do I have? Now there's a badge that actually tells you now. So let's see. I want to say 200 and something, maybe.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
293 shortcuts. So
Wow.
imagine having to move like the very last one, because now it's at the bottom, all the way to the top. It's not great. It's not
Not
great.
fun. Not
Not
fun. I
fun.
wonder if this is, I don't know if this is a feature or a bug. I suppose it could be a feature. There's no
It
reason why it
can be
has to be the
can
other
be
way.
both.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that I was used to being the way it was. So, but I have not gotten to the point where I've put in folders yet. So that'll all
Oh, you haven't.
change. No, I haven't spent the time to do that yet. I've been just doing other things, but I'm definitely going to do that. I want to have ones for the club and ones for
Yeah.
other things that we do. So,
That's what I've been doing. I have been creating shortcuts for Mac stories and then also shortcuts for like specific apps or specific
hmm
tasks, like Notes as its own shortcut because I a folder because I have shortcuts for Apple Notes. That kind of approach.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What else are you seeing? I saw some issues with AirDrop, but I mean, I don't want to just
Yeah.
talk about I don't want to talk about the bugs the whole time. I mean, the thing that I've played with the most, I think, because we did a show on it, is the widgets, and I really like the widgets. I've been really happy with them. I mean, I don't like the fact that they're not interactive. We talked about that yesterday, but I really do like the design. I like having these things on my home screen. I think the stack is a fantastic feature. I just wish that they were a little easier to place. It seems like you just don't have complete freedom as to where they go.
I know the American expression for why you don't want to just complain about stuff.
Yeah,
It's
what is
because
that?
you don't want to be a Debbie Downer.
Oh,
Is it
okay.
correct?
That is, yeah, that is an expression. It's not one that I use.
But it
You
exists,
sound like,
right? I've heard it
yeah, it
before.
does. It does. It does. It doesn't seem like it fits you. I don't know why.
I don't know why. I've seen it before. I've seen it somewhere, and I googled it
Okay.
at some point, and I learned what it meant, and now I know it. So anyway,
You come up with your idiom practice with me at the weirdest times, Federico. Every now and then you just pull
well, it's
these
just
things
when
out and
it just when it hits me, I just gotta say it,
okay.
otherwise I forget.
All
So
right.
widgets. I feel I'm getting used to a bunch of things. Really, the fact that on the iPad I cannot place them on the home screen.
Yes.
Um, we talked about this yesterday. I feel like it puts a serious limitation on how much I can enjoy them on the iPad. So I feel like I'm leaning toward experimenting with them more on the iPhone because I have a lot more freedom. And something
Yep.
that I am getting accustomed to is the idea of stacks, not just the smart stack, which is the one that Apple makes for you, but you can create
Right.
your own custom stacks. You can just
True.
drag a widget on top of another, and then you can flip through them. And that idea of the same spot can actually hold multiple widgets is something that I'm getting used to. It's not completely obvious at first. I mean, you do get the dots by the side of the widget, sort of like pages, indicating that that slot contains multiple widgets. But maybe
Right.
that indicator could be a little more prominent. I don't know. But it's something that I'm getting used to. The idea of I can place multiple widgets here and then I can just flick through them. So that's something that for example, um, I've created a small widget tile, like the 2x2 standard like square.
hmm
And what I've done is I've placed two different notes widgets in there so that I can flick through them, and each widget
Oh,
opens a different Apple note. So
that's a good
that's just
idea.
that's just one example. Or you could do things like having a reminders widget, and each one shows you reminders from a specific list. Or you could do things like an Apple Music widget, and each one shows you like a different subset of your library. Like, I don't know, maybe one shows you as a playlist and another shows you like recently played, that kind of approach.
Right.
So you can flick through them quickly, and it's still going to be faster than, say, opening music and navigating inside music.
It's kind of interesting to me that those small widgets those 2x2 size widgets can only be on the left or the right of a 2x2 grid of icons.
That's a good point. I hadn't
They can't
considered
be in
that.
the right. You can't center them, is I guess what I'm getting to. Right?
You can't center
You
them.
can't have two icons on the left and the right. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure
Is
why
it
that
like-
is.
Is it an aesthetic decision that maybe Apple felt like having a widget
Probably
in between two icons didn't look good enough?
Yeah, I could see it maybe being a little
It's-
strange. I'm not sure I would use it myself, but I'm surprised that it's not an option.
It's maybe more symmetrical on the iPhone because
Mhm.
you have like the widget on the left and 4 app icons which occupy roughly the same size on the other
Right.
side. So it's more symmetrical that way. Maybe this is also why we don't have widgets on the iPad yet, because maybe
Yeah.
Apple felt like they looked odd. Mixed
Yeah,
with
because you wouldn't
icons.
have right. You wouldn't have that balance at all.
No.
You would have. You would
That's
have
a
them
good
all over the
point.
place.
It's a very
So,
good point. Yeah, so I feel like I barely scratched the surface of widgets, also because like I've been watching sessions and taking notes. I haven't just sat down and went like, okay, let's play around with the iPhone with the new OS. Like
Right.
I've only like used it for a few minutes. But there's some widgets that I really like the calendar one, with the
Yeah, that's nice.
medium layout. It's got like a monthly calendar on the right and events on the left, and that is super nice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like the medium size music one too because it shows you. Right now, mine is showing me, I guess, 4 playlists plus a one on the top. So I've got it set up for playlists, and it's nice. I mean, it's a real nice way to quickly drop into a particular album or a particular playlist. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by PDF Expert by Readle. PDF Expert is the fast, robust, and beautiful PDF editor that lets you do pretty much anything you can think of with PDFs. I want to focus on the Mac version a little bit more today, which allows you to do, of course, the obvious things like opening and reading PDFs, but you can also annotate them and draw on them as well. Of course, you can also extract pages, edit text and images, add stickers, sign documents, and a whole lot more. There's a lot of power under the hood here. PDF Expert is built from the ground up for a smooth, intuitive experience for its users. The app can handle documents that are hundreds and hundreds of pages long, as well as it can some that are just a page or two. I wish I had had this when I was back in the day when I was reviewing hundreds of pages of documents as a lawyer. The app also features robust search, day and night mode, as well as a sepia mode, and a wide range of annotation tools. You can even fill out forms and sign documents, creating a streamlined paperless system. Of course, you can also manage pages, merge documents, pull out pages, crop them, and add page numbers too. So go on over to pdfexpert.com to check out the app, learn more, and download a copy today. I'll put a link in the show notes too. You owe it to yourself to supercharge your PDF workflow, so check out PDF Expert. Our thanks to PDF Expert for their support of the show.
Something that I'm already using a lot is the pinned conversations in messages. I've already created my my 6 pins at the very top of the app. So you will be happy to know, John, that you are part of these pins.
Oh, that makes me feel special.
You're right next to my girlfriend. So
how about that?
Not even my mom is in these pins because my mom likes to use WhatsApp.
My mom's not either.
Yeah. And there's our group chat and the video game chat and connected chat, basically all that.
Right.
Yeah, this feature is really nice because it takes a while to get used to because you're not used to opening messages and seeing this big grid at the top. But it's been a couple of days, and now I'm already used to it. Like I feel like it's also good for muscle memory because I feel like I already know that John is top row, middle circle, and Sylvia is like top row, leftmost circle. So like that is
you're
good
top row, middle for me too. All right, so
see?
you got that going. Jennifer's on the far right though, and I've got our group on the left. So
interesting. There must
but
be
I'm left-handed, so that might be a thing. I don't know.
Really? I was about to say there must be a psychological study behind this. And I feel like it's interesting. You're left-handed and you keep it on the right, and I'm right-handed and I keep Sylvia on the left. Very
Honestly, I think
fascinating.
this may have been the default that they suggested because it does suggest some pins based on, I think, frequency of texting, and
Well,
it gave me these three suggestions, and I went with it. I didn't add
I
any
like
yet.
my theory better.
Okay, all right.
So, did you see messages? And this is a little tidbit for you. So, do you have in the messages settings, in the settings app, do you have the unknown senders filter enabled?
Yes.
Did you see that there's like a main screen now? If you
Yep. I
go
know
back,
it's. Yes, I know. I the first time I tapped it, I was like, "Oh, what's this? Where
yeah,
did I go? What?
exactly.
How do I get back?"
Yeah. So there's a, if you by default you're in the all messages view, but if
Right.
in settings you have the unknown senders filters enabled, this is a feature that launched a couple of years ago, I think, which filters
Hmm.
out like basically spammers and folks who try to send you a message but you don't have their phone number, basically.
Right.
Um, and if from the all messages view, you will see in iOS 14, there's a filters button in the top left corner. And if you tap that, you will go back to this kind of empty messages root view.
Right.
And it's very empty because all you get is like three buttons: all messages, known senders, and unknown senders. And the first time you go there, it's going to look real empty and it's going to make you wonder, oh, where have I ended up? Because
Right. Where are all my
before,
messages? Because it still says messages at the top, and you're like,
yeah,
"Well, wait, these aren't
because
my messages."
because before unknown senders was a segment of the messages
Right.
view. It wasn't
Right.
like a separate view altogether. So it's very strange the first time you see it, I think.
It's really unusual. It's really unusual for an app to have a back button in the default view. Because as you
Good
said,
point. Good point.
right? I don't know that I can think of another app that has done that where when you first launch it, and I wonder what it would be like on a first run clean
Mm,
install where you had nothing set up, whether it would dump you here or whether they put you into the filters list.
yeah.
It's interesting. You may have to test that out this summer.
Mm. Something that I also really like in the pin conversation view is the fact that you get a preview on the pin
Mm-hmm.
of the last action or message that was performed in the thread. So you get a little chat bubble for the last message that the person sent, or you get an indication of the tap back, like the thumbs up or the heart or the haha reaction, that kind of stuff. You get a
Mm-hmm.
preview in the pin, and it's very funny for you right now in my messages app. So because
Yeah.
I changed your profile picture to your new fancy headshot that you
Okay.
recently took, so it's a very all I see is your face. It's a very zoomed in photo of you,
Right.
and
Right.
there's a chat bubble coming out of basically your head that says okay, restarting, and it looks like a comic book. It looks like a thinking bubble. It looks like you're thinking okay, restarting.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's great. And next time you might see that I've got a thumbs up coming out of the side of my ear or something.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like that. It's very funny.
Oh, that
Also,
is good.
I absolutely love that you can set a picture for a group photo or easily change the name of a group. All those options are really nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think these are all really good. I think the one thing you didn't get out of your iOS wishes is the ability to retract a message. That
Why
is
do you
not in
have to
here.
mention this? The guys already made fun of me for this on Connected. This is
Oh,
just
did they?
this is just
Oh, I haven't
cruel.
listened yet.
This is just cruel, John. It's
Oh,
just
I'm sorry.
I can say
I
this.
haven't
I can
listened
say
yet. I've
this
been too
now
busy.
because Connected came out last night. So I came out last with like 0 points. So
Oh, I see. This does look like a speech bubble. Like this is coming right
it
out of
does
my mouth
look.
almost.
It's coming. It does look like a speech bubble. You're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
okay, restarting.
Well, it's true. All right. I want to mention too. I want to mention the fitness app. This is what was the activity app, and it's been renamed Fitness. And I really like it. I think it's a good example of tab bars becoming less and less of a thing on iOS because there are just two tabs now: Summary and Sharing. And Summary almost is like its own little widgets app. It's got the activity at the top with your progress on your rings, and then it's got my last three workouts, and then it's got the trends and awards at the very bottom. So it's all on this one page, and you can tap on any of these to get more details, which is really nice. I mean, I think the information density here is really nice. I mean, you can get just a really quick glance at where you stand in the most recent workouts that you've done in the current day. And then if you want to dive in deeper, you can do that as well. And then sharing hasn't changed a ton. I guess it still has the different options for the way you sort it, but I have mine sort by day, and so I can see that you're at 108%, Federico, of your move goal. So congratulations.
Really, I am.
You are.
How's that possible? Something that I also want to point out is how much I'm enjoying the new made for iPad designs on the iPad with the sidebars and the toolbars and the collapsible and expandable sections in the sidebar, like photos and music. Music is just excellent now. Like, I really love how music has a sidebar now, and it's super easy to navigate to playlists, for example. And also they've made search better. I'm the kind of person who searches for like individual songs a lot. And that's been really nice to see all these changes to music and photos. And home has a sidebar now. For some reason, I didn't notice this in the keynote, but home on the iPad now lets you switch between rooms from a sidebar, which is just
that's so nice.
Instead of having to use the tab bar and swiping through the tabs. Oh, it's so much better. Now you can just click in the sidebar. It's so much better. So I'm enjoying that that shift away from iPhone-based designs. I think it fits the iPad, especially the modern iPad experience with the pointer and the multiplicity of inputs. I think it fits that very nicely. So I want to see more of this. I cannot wait to see what third-party developers do. I expect to see a lot more apps switch from tabs to sidebars, which, it's a simple thing, but I feel like it's the kind of simple thing that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, one of the other things I want to mention, Federico, is the new date picker, because the date picker, we've had since the dawn of the iPhone that kind of slot machine look where you had the tumblers where you had to kind of flick through the days and the hours to pick things. And while that was really cool when the iPhone debuted, it started to look very dated and clunky over the years. And now we've got something that you actually see a calendar, for instance. When you go in the calendar app and you want to set up a date, you just see a mini calendar, poke on the day, and then the time has, there's like a toggle for AM, PM, and then you can set the time. It's just really nice. I think the design is just extremely clean and looks really nice.
The date picker is excellent. I've never been a fan of the wheel for picking dates and times. Like, I get it, why it made sense back in the day with the 3D view, but as soon as we moved away from skeuomorphism and the iOS 6 design, that flat sort of 3D but not really 3D wheel, it stopped making any sense to me. So you can now tap on dates and you can enter the time as it always should have been. So it's very nice. I'm a big fan. And there's all kinds of little details, right? That like the context menus, which it's kind of weird. We're going to have to figure this out. I don't know if listeners know, but we at Mac Stories, we pay a lot of attention to the style guide that Apple provides, and we try to follow that as much as possible. And here's by the way, quick parenthesis. We've been obsessing, John, Ryan, and I, over the past couple of years, over the proper capitalization of home screen.
Home screen?
used to be capital H, capital S. Then they went capital H, lower screen S. Now it seems like it's back to home screen, both capitalized. And we just obsess ever so slightly over that. There is, by the way, we can actually maybe link this in the show notes, a little known fact. Apple does have an official style guide. And before you ask, why do we even care? I don't know, but it's that kind of thing that I obsess about. And I'm just weird like that. And so John and Ryan are just victims of my obsessions. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you can download it from the Books app. And
I mean, it's an official thing, so why not follow the thing? And now,
absolutely.
So now we have context menus, which were launched in iOS 13, but you also have pull-down menus. Pull-down menus are new in iOS 14. They are the new Craig Federighi, to add to the confusion. They refer to them in the keynote video as drop-down menus. So the idea would be that in Files and in Safari, you now get these drop-down menus. And they look like drop-down menus because you click on a toolbar icon and the menu drops down. The thing
Right.
is, though, these menus, they replace popovers, they replace action sheets, which are old iOS UI elements,
Yes.
but they are context menus. So the thing that was actually launched last year, right? They look exactly like context menus. They have the same design. They have the same physics. Like you can invoke the menu and then you can keep swiping with your finger over different items of the menu and you can select them just like a context menu. The context menu is what you get, for example, on the home screen when you long press on an icon, or it's what you get in files when you long press on a file. So these pull down menus, they are exactly like context menus. But if you go to the updated human interface guidelines document, the document says pull down menus are better than context menus, which I don't really understand. Why are
Really?
they better? Yes, it does say that. It says something like pull down menus are preferable to popovers, okay, action sheets, okay, and context menus. But why?
I think it's because they're faster, because they're immediate
Are
when
they?
you tap. I think so, because you
They
have
have
to
the same animation curve. They have the same animation time. So
yeah, but you have to press and hold to get the context menu to show up, whereas you simply tap on a
not
pull-down
quite,
menu.
because in Safari you need to tap and hold the toolbar icon if you want to get the
No.
pull down menu. So
All right. Well, I'm trying to come up with a theory, but I haven't tested it, and I haven't tested it everywhere myself. So
if you're an App Stories listener, I can guarantee you will not hear any other podcast this week mention these things
about the animation curves and
about the
pull-down
animation
menus.
and the difference in the guidelines between pull-down menus and context menus and the style guide. I mean, all of it, really.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about the
I mean, not to
animations.
brag,
They are absolutely the same.
they are absolutely the same. This is one of those things that I will need to clarify with Apple at some point. Like, please explain to me what's the difference. And really, I think the difference comes down to the pull-down menu is what you get when you click on the toolbar icon.
That's what I was going to say. It's because it's in a toolbar.
It's just a name, but it's not a context menu. It's a contextual menu because the context is the file.
The thing you're pressing on.
I don't know.
Because the thing you're touching is the context of that, as opposed to tools that might be a variety of things in a toolbar menu. Yeah, so options in a toolbar.
These are the things I think about.
No, these are the things that keep us awake at night. That's why we're so tired.
Yes, pull down menus, man. Okay, all right. So you want to talk about app clips?
Yeah, we should. I think these are really interesting, and I'm not sure what to think of them. I mean, I haven't tried any. I'm not sure if there are any to try at this point. But app clips are these little bits of self-contained UI from an app that developers can create, and they're triggered by things like, well, they have a special code for them, a special app clip code, or a QR code, or an NFC tag, or even inside of other apps like Safari and Maps, they're available. So they're very small URL based or URL triggered bits of UI from an app that a developer can create, so that, for instance, you could do something like, you go to a coffee shop that you only go to once in a while. You'd be able to quickly load the clip by scanning a QR code at the cash register and then pay for your coffee, or use it as a loyalty card or something like that, without having to download an entire app and keep it somewhere on your phone. That's kind of the idea of these. I don't know. What do you think about them?
So I think it's a very interesting idea in the sense of the simplification of app distribution. So I think it's fascinating to think about in the context of, for the past few years in my iOS review, I've been exploring this idea, this concept. It's a recurring theme of the modularization of apps, like apps becoming these units that you can break up in individual pieces, and each piece is part of the overall experience, but it can also be used on its own. And so you have the app that you download from the App Store, but then you also have the widget, and you have the extension, and you have the shortcut actions, and you have the Siri integration, and you have the watch version, right? You have all these little pieces that are all contained within the app, but you can also use them standalone. And app clips, they feel like the next logical continuation of this idea of, well, what if an actual feature of the actual main app could be extracted from it and can be delivered to you only when you need it, right? I feel
Right.
like if you were to continue down this road, you will obviously reach that conclusion of, well, sure, we've been extracting a subset of functionality and putting it in a widget, in an extension, in Siri. But what if we actually took it out of the app? And what if we actually gave it to you in the form of an app? Except it is not an app, it is not the full app, it is a piece of that, it's a portion of that. And it's very lightweight and you can download it. It needs to be under 10 megabytes in size so you can start using it right away. And when you think about it in the context of there's 5G coming, and so downloading something that is under 10 megabytes, it's going to take you
fast.
It's going to be very, very fast. I mean, it's already fast on 4G. You can imagine on 5G. It's going to be very fast. And it also makes sense. I mean, with these things, all that we have now is what Apple is telling us because we haven't tried it. And all that we can do is try to infer the big picture and goal, right?
Right.
Having an experience, right? Because Apple refers to the app clips as experiences. Having an experience that is delivered to you in a couple of seconds and that you can install, I mean, in a bunch of different ways. You can use links. You can use links in Apple Maps, links in iMessage from Safari. You can tap an NFC code, but also having an experience that is delivered to you by looking at a QR code, for what it makes sense? For glasses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what if you're wearing glasses and you realize you need something and you can just look at one of those fancy QR codes that Apple is making called the app clip codes, which is potentially the most difficult thing I've had to say this week, app clip code. It's very tricky to say. What if you just look at it, like literally, physically look at it with your glasses, and suddenly you have a very lightweight app experience right in front of your eyes? And of course, this is wishful thinking. I'm just imagining the future. But because that we have now is the potential of this, it's something that we could consider. So this feature, I think it makes a lot of sense for big companies, Starbucks, renting car services, these companies that have like these big parking lots, like in cities like Rome and London and Chicago, I assume. And they have these custom systems to let you pay for the parking meter, right?
Right.
We have, for example, one of those companies that integrate. Remember when Apple Maps gained the integration with parking times?
Yes.
Yeah. So Rome is part of that because of a company that has all their listings here in Rome. So I can imagine that those companies, it would make sense to offer app clips. Now, what about the indie developers? I don't know if it makes sense for James Thompson of Peacock to say, well, now suddenly you're walking around London, and what if you feel the urge to make a calculation? You can just kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't,
quick find a QR code.
It doesn't necessarily make sense for that. But for restaurant apps, I mean, that's going to be, I mean, I'll tell you what, this is a real life anecdote coming to you, John. So
all right.
Our country reopened a few weeks ago. Okay.
Right.
And one of the first things that we did after the reopening was we, of course, went to our favorite seafood restaurant. And of course, the restaurant had to make some adjustments after the lockdown. So tables are more distanced within each other, and all the staff is wearing masks, and some of them, they have the plastic visor thing. Like the face shield thing. Everybody's wearing gloves. Okay, it makes sense. You have hand sanitizer as soon as you walk into the restaurant. Very well done. One of the things that they did, both restaurants that I went to actually, they got rid of the physical menu.
Ah, right.
They don't have a paper menu or a little like leather-bound menu anymore. What they do instead, they bring you a piece of paper, and the piece of paper has a QR code on it. And they tell you, scan this with your phone, because they know that also the iPhone now can scan QR codes. And it takes you to a page on the web that is basically a PDF hosted like on Google Drive or Dropbox. And you can take a look at the menu on the PDF. And now
that's smart.
That's smart because you're getting rid of an object that lots of people touch.
It's passed around.
It's passed around that lots of people touch. So because of this, and especially now, I feel like app clips for restaurant menus, like perfect implementation of this. You just scan a thing, and it says, okay, this is the menu for the restaurant, and it's delivered to you in 2 seconds, and you can browse. And this thing doesn't stick around forever, because Apple said these clips, if you no longer use them, they will go away automatically. So if you're a
Right.
developer, you need to treat them like cash, essentially, because if the user doesn't touch them for a certain amount of time, they just go away and everything is deleted.
Right.
And so because of that, I think it makes sense but it's very situational, right? It's very situational in the sense that, yeah, it makes sense at a restaurant, it makes sense if at a parking meter, it makes sense at Starbucks maybe, but it's not for everybody, obviously.
Right. And it especially makes sense, I think, if you were on a vacation, for instance, and it's a restaurant, you may never go back to it. It makes a lot of sense to use something like this instead of having to download an entire app. And, as we were talking, first of all, I guess, too, you could also even order from that. Maybe you tick off the items that you want to order, and then, the waiter doesn't even have to come back until the food is ready and bring it to your table. So it kind of would minimize those interactions as well, which is good for social distancing.
Yeah.
But as you were speaking, I opened up the Starbucks app, and there's a lot going on in this app. There are 5 tabs in this app. There's maps of stores nearby. There's a way to buy gifts. There's a way to order. There's a way to scan codes, and there's a home tab with a bunch of information. And so it makes a lot of sense for something like this, where I would imagine, a Starbucks app clip would just have the order tab, basically, that information come up with the menu and the ability to figure out what you want and make your mobile order and pick it up nearby without having all this stuff like necessarily buying gifts and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was kind of lukewarm on this feature when I first saw it. And to be fair, it is reminiscent for me to an extent. I mean, it's obviously very different, and there's a lot of cool tech actually happening here. But it does remind me of when back in the day, I think it was iOS 6, when Apple tried to sell us on the idea of the App Store having location-based recommendations. Like, oh, we see that you're now at your local bank. Here's the banking app for you. Like, that never really worked out in practice. And obviously, this is very different, right? It is actually like a feature of App Store Connect, and developers can make binaries specifically for app clips. Like, it's a whole thing, and it's very cool, technically speaking. But it does remain a little, as I said, situational, in that it makes sense at specific times in specific locations. But that said, especially now that more countries are reopening, I think, and more people will want to go back to the movies, to the restaurant, to shopping, to Starbucks, all kinds of places. This is the kind of feature that, especially with 5G coming, instead of having to go to a website or instead of having to download an app that is like 100 megabytes, now you can just download 10 of them, and you can do what you want, do what you need to do, and it's very focused, right? Because when you download the app clip, you download the clip that makes sense for the current situation, for the current context. So, like, you want the clip for the menu, it's just a menu. You need to order food, you got the clip that lets you order food. So it's very focused on the task at hand. It's a single task. So I feel like 2020, if anything, is the right time for this kind of stuff, because of that, because of like more people like almost craving to go out again, and so going to places where the app clip would make sense, and also 5G coming. So those fast delivery times are ideal for the very fast delivery of a binary. And in fact, I'm not sure where I've seen this, but I've heard, maybe incorrect, that the app clip actually starts downloading the moment that you see the app clip presentation card. So before you can actually use the app clip, you see a little preview, a little card pops up saying, do you want this clip? I've seen somebody, and I may be wrong, saying that the clip actually downloads in the background while you're viewing the card. So you may not even notice the download.
That's really interesting. I think the only thing, just to kind of play devil's advocate on this, is that this also feels like an unbundling of functionality in the apps that you could argue, I think, is kind of a commoditization of parts of apps, in the same way that articles have been unbundled from publications and that sort of thing, which could lead to a devaluation of the apps themselves. part of the thing about apps is locking people into your goods and services, especially if you're somebody like a restaurant or a Starbucks. And if these things are just kind of throwaway bits of code that disappear, you don't have that lock-in. Now, I think if I were Apple, I would immediately point out the fact that there's a new framework out there called SK Overlay, which is part of StoreKit. And what that allows is in this clip, for a developer to suggest that someone download the full app. So, and there's a way then to also transfer any data that's been put into the clip straight into the app once you download the full app. So there is a way to kind of both market to the users your full app and to maybe convert them into a full user. So I'm not sure that counter argument is a good one, but I would be a little concerned about that, I think, if I was building an app clip. All right, Federico, that's a great discussion. We are going to be back again tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. We've got some ideas of what our topic will be, but I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to give it away just yet. I want to thank again Riedel, whose app PDF expert you heard about today. They're our sponsor both for this show and for all of Mac Stories during WWDC, so thanks to them. And, of course, you can find me and Federico over at macstories.net, where we're doing all sorts of special WWDC coverage this week. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. We've done overviews of all the big OS releases. We've done a roundup of all the little details that we've been finding beyond what we talked about today, as well as coming up with a bunch of link posts to things about some of the privacy aspects of what's going on with iOS 14 and macOS and a whole lot more. So check that out. You can always find me, Federico, over on Instagram and Twitter. He's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you tomorrow, Federico.
Ciao, John.